the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to the Pete Primeau Show. It is episode 195, and we are here with Kelly Charles, owner of the Big Mattress Outlet, and we are going to talk about the drive to win, among other things. And let me just pay the bills very, very quickly, and we'll get started. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? 101 tips for furniture and mattress stores to sell another $1 million or more this year. This book is meant to be read cafeteria style. As a matter of fact, I recommend that you read the last chapter first and then go to the front and then read it however you want to. If you have any questions about how to implement something in my book, see the cell number there, 419-560-3169. I'll help you implement any idea in that book, 100% free, no catches. And thank you for your support. Steve and Greg, thank you very much for sponsoring our show. The Mattress Industry Network group is a group for everybody in the mattress industry, founded by a group of retailers. And if you want to learn how to market, how to network, how to succeed, how to build your business, join this group. You don't have to be in business all by yourself. I know as store owners, you often feel like you're on an island all alone. You don't need to be. Join the Mattress Industry Network group. And if you guys are going to market, please visit my friends and one of my employers, the Bed and Industries of America, at the Crown Mark Building on 200 East Green Drive, all the way up on the 4th floor. We have the entire 4th floor, and you will see new items. You will see all things flex head, all things two-sided, private label. We are the largest private label manufacturer in the world. And if you're looking for margin, if you're looking for new items that will sell with velocity, this is the one stop you have to make while you're at the market. Just do it and thank me later. My friends, James Short and the great Steve Carnes will be there. And if you want a real treat, just listen to Steve Carnes. He is one of the smartest guys, most experienced guys, makes me look like an absolute rookie. He is fantastic, and he is a treat. So go to see our friends at the Bed and Industry of America in High Point. And without further ado, Kelly, welcome to the Pete Primeau Show.
Yeah, thank you so much. What an honor to be here, Pete. You're a legend. You're a rock star.
I'm a legend in my own mind, said my wife.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So this is what I've been dying to ask you this question because it just fascinates me. I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you worked for Simmons in operations. Please tell me about that. That is huge.
So first of all, I'm one of those, just like probably everybody else, entered the mattress industry thinking this is a temporary gig. It pays the bills, but this is going to be the most boring thing. I remember telling the VP who recruited me, it was like, okay, I'll do this, but that just sounds like the most boring job I can imagine. So, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not sure I can do this from here. And here we are 25 plus years later, still here. So, but, so I worked for Simmons, and my job as an operations manager was unique. Most of the ops managers are more on the plant, the manufacturing side. Mine was more on the liquidation of anything excess that the company had. So be that overstocks, canceled orders, warranty returns, comfort returns, raw materials, anything excess that needed to go away in some sort of way that didn't interfere with retail customers, and just try not to lose money doing it. Most of us know that there's a certain amount of write-off that these manufacturers have for comfort returns, warranty, that kind of thing. And so I just kind of needed to operate within the bounds of that. So it was a really unique operation in that it was a little bit sales and a little bit operation. The sales aspect, I had to find people to buy this stuff, but I also had to manage what they did with it, because you couldn't have returns, closeouts, overstocks sold to a customer who was going to advertise against a first line retailer right next door or in the same town, or
Sure.
there had to be rules that these customers played by, so we had to police that a little bit. And it was the one area of sales where the demand exceeded the supply.
Yeah,
So
always.
you kind of got to pick who you did business with. And it was, if somebody didn't want to play by the rules and they wanted to advertise after signing an agreement that they wouldn't, well, you could just cut them off.
Yeah.
So it was a unique thing. And trying to get creative sometimes with the way that we would dispose of units that didn't need to be sold, because Simmons was always very protective of the brand name, as they should be. And so, maybe they took something back that was a warranty return that doesn't need to be sold back out to the public. So what do we do with it? Trying to figure that out in a cost-effective way. And so it was operations from sort of a different standpoint, but it's doing that for 13 years is how I sort of got into, because we had retail stores too. Simmons had retail stores where they initially years ago would sell out some of a little of everything, but they made a shift several years in where they only sold new in bag, overstock stuff. They didn't want to sell returns or anything like that to the outlet stores. Understandable. But so it changed the way that I operated, but we still had all these retail stores nationwide that kind of also came under my purview, because they also got this stuff, even though they were company owned. They got this product at a discount. They still had to abide by the same advertising standards. They still had to, generate a little bit of a profit to pay for themselves. So, it was a combination of operations and outlet and retail and management, and very, very unique position. And I absolutely loved it. I loved what I did. I loved my bosses, had the greatest bosses in the world. Vince Nicholson was, the guy that I worked with. He works at Kingsdown now, but we worked together for the last several years, was my boss at Simmons. And it was an amazing job. And I didn't leave because I disliked the job or the company. I left because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. You can ask Vince. I didn't do real well with doing what I was told. It's like,
Well,
no, give me a job and let me just do it my way.
I'm really blessed this week. At the end of the week, I get to do one of my 2 yearly masterminds, and our joke in the group is, we couldn't, we're unemployable. That's why we work for ourselves, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Chris, can you kindly pull that? Tim McDonald says, "Good morning. Finally getting time to listen in today." Tim, it's great to have you here, brother. I am a big Tim McDonald fan. I absolutely love this guy. I love his story. I love everything about this guy. He's special. We have a lot of special people in the industry, and I wanted to thank you, Kelly, for being one of those special people. You've got your own Nothing Else Mattress podcast, and I had to say it like 10 times before. What is she? Because I kept going. Nothing else matters. Nothing else. No, that's not what it's. Nothing Else Mattress. I know, that's brilliant. I love that. I love that. And thank you for everything that you do for the industry. And I want to get into our topic, but boy, I'm dying to ask you 10 other questions. So here's one question that I think is important for everybody to understand, because we get some sales pros that are thinking about doing their own thing, and we get people from all over the industry that are thinking about doing their own thing. When did this, like, at some point in time before you left Simmons, you must have started to have contact with store owners and start to think, hey, I think I could do this. Hey, I think I
Mhm.
could do this better. I mean, or tell me what your thoughts were. I should not.
You know,
Well, that's kind of the way my thinking is, and it may not be the way yours is.
it honestly, it really and truly was just a means to support the family to start with. I didn't have dreams of grandeur of opening multiple stores. Though maybe I should have, coulda, woulda, shoulda, I don't know. But at the time, it was just simply trying to avoid a commute to Atlanta. And because I was, for a long time, I was 104 miles away from the office.
Oh, wow.
Now I didn't go in every single day. I traveled some and I was there, 2 or 3 days a week usually. But we did move a little closer and it was only 70 miles to the office then. But we don't live in Atlanta and I hate Atlanta traffic. And so that was part of it, is like, I just feel like I didn't feel fulfilled. What was missing had nothing to do with the company that I worked for. It had to do with something inside me. And I wanted to be in the driver's seat. I didn't want to worry every 4 or 5 years when new owners came in that what if they decide my job is expendable? Because that happens sometimes. I'd see people who'd been there 20 plus years who were from my perspective great workers, but it was just that their job description was decided it could be combined with someone else's, and so now they were expendable, and I just didn't like that feeling. And I thought, I want to be in control of this. Like if I do a really good job, I want to reap the benefit. And if I suck at what I do, well, maybe I don't make as much money. But it just started out as like, I just want to be the one in the driver's seat of my own career. That really and truly was the only drive. And I just thought, I just want to open a store because I could see the types of profit that was involved in having a mattress store, especially in the closeout side of business, which was a little bit different. And so I felt certain that, our family could thrive on a successful mattress store. And what I thought was, because I never minded, hard work and working extra hours, and I get in there with the guys and move the adjustable bases, and the physical aspect of it never bothered me at all. So I'm thinking, well, if I could get in there and run this store for a couple of years, maybe hire somebody part-time a little ways in, that I might could get it profitable enough that my husband, Joe, could leave his job, which was highly stressful for him. He worked at for Ford Motor Company, and he loves playing with cars, but the job he did had nothing to do with playing with cars. It was all corporate, and so he had a high stress job, and so the goal was we could do this together. But I opened in August of 2012 our first store in Rome, Georgia, and by Black Friday, we decided this took off more quickly than we anticipated, which is a great problem to have, but it did mean that. That paved the way for Joe to leave actually December of that year, that very first year. So he left his job at at Ford and joined me. So yeah, we're like 4 months in and it's already a family business. But it took a little time for the thought process to emerge of what if we had 2 stores? And so, pretty quickly, once the thought gets in your head, as an entrepreneur, and let me just pause and say, on my own podcast, I interview a lot of like serial entrepreneurs that always have these great ideas and they're just always chasing something. And I think I'm kind of there now, but I was not there those years ago. I was much more conservative. I was like, I got one idea. I just have a mattress store and that's it. It didn't occur to me to expand in any other way. So we got the second store we opened. And of course, now we've got twice the success, if you will. And we stopped intentionally because we had all 3 kids were still at home. They were all 3 involved in sports. We really, really liked the ability to just go to games on Friday nights. I worked in the concession stand and, we just wanted to be involved parents. And, my parents were never super involved with stuff that I did in high school. And we just wanted to be there, physically be there for them. And we didn't want to be tied to work and have multiple stores. And so we're like, well, we're making a comfortable living with 2 stores. Why don't we just table expansion until the youngest graduates college, and then we'll figure out what we want to do. And so the youngest graduated college a couple of years ago, And that's when we started really talking about, okay, how do we want to expand? And I'll back up a little bit before that. We did end up acquiring a third store. So we had three corporate stores by the time we started talking about how to actually expand in a larger way.
Wow. Such a great decision to make with young children. My hat's off to you and Joe. I mean, that is really
Yeah,
special.
no regrets at all
No,
there.
no. You're never going to regret spending more time with your family than less time with your family. Never going to regret that.
Yeah.
So that is so awesome. So why did you pick this title? So anybody who's never been on my show doesn't know this. My guest picked the title for the show, and we don't rehearse, and there's no like back and forth. It's just like pick a title and let's roll. So why the drive to win, Kelly?
Couple of reasons. First of all, I think when you've been a business owner, entrepreneur for a little bit of time, you realize that to succeed, you do have to have this drive to win. Having a great concept, having a great location, having deep pockets, all of those things can run out. But having the drive to win, having that constant mental thought process of how to be better, how to serve the community better, how to take care of customers better, whatever the case is, it's a drive. I mean, look at the grand opening picture there. I mean, look how far we've come. Like, I was so proud of that business there that just popped up on the screen. And I look at it now and be like, oh my gosh, that looks terrible. Like handwritten on the windows, but it's this drive that's inside that keeps you being successful and figuring out the best ways to navigate the inevitable hurdles that come across. We're in a downtime right now. If you're in the industry, the things that's probably one of the most difficult times. Certainly probably in the last 10, 12 years, the most difficult time I think that I've seen since probably 07 or so. But you got to have a drive. And sometimes people look at a measure of success that a business owner has and they get that must be nice kind of attitude. Or can't hide money, they just, and if you haven't been in that seat, you don't realize all that goes on behind the scenes, the sleepless nights, the long hours, the sacrifices that you make a lot of times mentally to be able to have that level of success to push through. Because, when you're employed somewhere else, you can have a few rough days where you just kind of slack off a little bit and, it just blends in with the rest of the company, but you can never let your guard down as a business owner. I mean, you always got to be thinking, what's the next thing we can do? So that I felt like that title really encapsulates who I am. That is my why. That is that feeling of creating something that succeeds is very addictive to me. It's not even about the money. It's about feeling like I've had an idea that we saw through. So the other thing though leads back to this sleep summit last week where we worked in an analogy, and this was my husband Joe's idea, which was a great idea, but where even the best drivers, like race car drivers, like take an actual NASCAR, whatever kind of racing you're familiar, you don't have to be a race fan to understand the analogy, but these drivers don't just go out on track and then just win a race. They've got a pit crew that sets the car up. They've got, sponsors that fund the whole program. They've got teams in place that help make them successful. Now, they do have to go out there and execute. They really do. They have to be a great driver. They got to be awesome, but they got to have all this other stuff behind the scenes too. And so our analogy was, with franchising, which was the route we chose to expand the business, that even really great entrepreneurs sometimes need a team behind the scenes. If nothing else, the relationships that we've built over the 25 years with the manufacturers, I mean, the ability to get closeouts on a scale and with a relationship that you can't just walk right into. When you think about the closeout business and what I talked about earlier and how these manufacturers are very particular about who they sell to, because you can imagine there's a lot of profit margin in closeouts. But the typical store owner wants to, buy low, sell high, advertise the snot out of it, And to resist the temptation and play by the rules, you don't just call TSI up and say, "Hey, I want a truckload of your closeouts." They don't even return your call. They don't. That is not who they deal with. You can't just walk into those relationships. So this analogy that we had with driving and racing and being a team behind the scenes that allows our franchise partners, which we've now launched franchising, to be able to inherit, so to speak, these relationships that we can manage, provides a value to the manufacturers because now we can move volume, provides a value to franchisees, even if they don't have any history in the business. But if they do, either way, it's just hard to get the quality of closeouts that are out there. So this whole driving analogy, that when you asked what to name the show, I just like the drive to win. I didn't even have to think about it. That was it.
That's awesome. So Tara Day said, great analogy or awesome. Chris, can you pull that back up?
Fantastic analogy. Now, Tara, you are Jacksonville bedding, I think maybe. Yeah. Okay. I see it in the industry group. So yeah.
And let me see. Anthony D'Amato said, great analogy with auto racing. And Chris Tahaney had a quote up there too. Tim McDonald, you picked a good time to listen. Kelly Charles is great.
Back at you, Tahaney.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there is a song that every store owner should listen to. It's not a great song. It was written by George Harrison, performed by George Harrison. It's called The Master of Going Faster. And you just listen to the words. Just forget about the music. The music's not great. But The Master of Going Faster is really about you. It's really about you as a store owner. And interestingly enough, it was inspired by a race car driver. So that will park.
I've written it down.
Life in the circus is jump into the deepest end, push himself to all extremes, made it. People became his friend. Look at you, Chris Stone. You are just rarefied air. Thank you. It is really special, and it really is the life of a store owner. And it's the life of any business owner, truly. And that's, one of the things that sometimes we lose track of in our business. If you're a business owner, we have a lot in common. And we have a lot in common with all of our business owners. And sometimes the mistakes that I see some stores make is they don't reach deep enough into their communities, Kelly, and partner up with other businesses. Mm-hmm. They're not your enemies. They're your friends. Make everybody your friend as much as you can, especially those that are not your direct competitors. McDonald's is not your friend, not your enemy. They're your friend, especially if you could get like 1/10 of their traffic or 1/50th of their traffic, right? We don't need a lot of traffic. We just need a few good quality customers to come in, and we're off to the races. So, Kelly, you've been doing this for a while now. And when you look at who wins and who doesn't win, what are the big differences? I think this drive to win is a huge piece of it. It's huge. Yeah. It is. And it's something that doesn't get talked about because you know what? It's kind of gritty, Kelly. It's kind of like, it's not like exotic. It's not like that shiny new object. It's kind of gritty. And I love the fact that you picked that. I'm like, all right, the drive to win, that is significant. But what else besides that?
So I think what I personally see is maybe sometimes a little bit of complacency when you've had a successful business for years and you tend to think that what you've always done is going to continue to work. Maybe you've lost that insight into constantly changing. And this was something reminding myself is something I constantly have to do. And I'll give you an example. When COVID first hit and we all thought in our industry, we didn't know how great it was going to end up being. What we thought was that, okay, got to buckle down. This is what we've prepared for, right? This is why we have savings in the accounts. This is, we're just, let's just buckle down, see if we can't just make payroll. But we didn't know when it first started that everybody would go out and buy mattresses with their stimulus checks. So I'm going back to the very, very beginning of COVID when I say this. Joe and I, within the first week or two, we had a conversation where we looked at Chick-fil-A, and I don't know if they all did this, but all the ones in our area literally overnight changed their entire operation to a touch-free, drive-through only. They set up everything inside the stores. They doubled up the drive-through. They had everything. They were just ready. They just made it happen. They didn't know how the pandemic was going to go either, but they adapted to the circumstance that was in front of them. They made decisions based on the information they had, and they just did. They just acted. And it served them well. So Joe and I immediately said, okay, why are we sitting here thinking, woe is me, we got to deal with this pandemic, and let's, instead of being reactive, what can we do to be proactive? What we think right now is that everybody's on lockdown, that things are going to be tight, they're going to be slow. So with that information, what do we do? So we overnight changed to an appointment only business model. It didn't last long, but that's what we did with the information we had. And the reason it didn't last long is because the appointments stayed so full every day that we were just at work all day anyway. So we just turned the open sign on. But point I'm getting at is that mindset of, what do I need to be doing? Not, woe is me, there's no traffic in the store. Woe is me, things aren't selling. I'm not converting. I'm not closing, whatever. Okay, what do I need to change? And then just do it, make it happen. So I think a little bit of complacency. And I also think, we live in a constantly changing world, and we get blinders on to what our customers see when they walk in our store. Maybe the desk is more cluttered. Maybe the floor isn't merchandised as well as it should be. Maybe because things are slow, we're trying not to invest in inventory and a bunch of floor samples, so we're selling what we've got. But as a result, maybe our floor isn't as well put together as it should be. But we don't see that because it's our floor and we're there every day. So that's actually a hard thing to do, to have the ability to view your own store through objective eyes. And I think that is what I'm seeing is making a difference between those who are talking about being up a little bit this year, or even, breaking even with last year, versus those who are significantly down. Now, I can't obviously speak to everybody across the board, so I'm no expert there, but you asked my opinion, and from what I've seen, I feel like that's a game changer.
I learned a lesson. Oh, when was it? It's about 20 years ago. And I was just listening to one of my dealers. I'll tell you his name. His name is, oh, Lord have mercy. Zanesville, Ohio, Mattress Smart, Jim Hicks. And Jim Hicks was telling me about what he did on his day off. He shopped a competitor. Mm-hmm. And I said, tell me about this. And he said, well, I pretended like I was a customer, hoping I wasn't going to get busted. He goes, and I noticed that the tiles on their ceiling had a lot of stains on them. And I said, that's interesting. And why were you doing that? I go, why weren't you focused on the selling process? He goes, no, I was focused on the selling process, but I am looking for, what does the customer see? And when they compare it to me, what do they see? So he came back home and he looked at his tiles, and, all of his tiles were good.
Now I got to go look at my tiles. So,
but no. So Kelly, that's what makes you special. And that.
Well, let me tell you, Pete, along those lines, if you don't mind, I'll share just a quick story, because in training a new manager a while back, we left the area where we're from, and we actually went to a metro area a couple hours away, like nowhere near where we are. Cause I'm not trying to shop. I mean, if I'm going to go in a local competitor, they know who I am, and we're going to, I'm not secret shopping them. But we go out of town. So we go to a metro area into what I would say would be super high volume locations with probably top performing RSAs. Did that on purpose because I took our new manager and I wanted our manager to see what a good sales process was like. Like, don't take my word for it. Yeah, we've got our process in our store, but go see how these experts, these people have been doing it a long time in these stores, go see how they make you feel. What? Because a good salesperson, you can be in there secret shopping and all of a sudden you want to buy from them. You're like, now I'm feeling really guilty because I'm not here to buy because they're doing their job, right? So I wanted
Exactly.
our new manager to experience that so they could understand what happened. And we had like a whole questionnaire of why did you feel this way, that way, whatever. But the problem is it didn't happen. The problem is we went into these high volume stores and they were nice for sure. I can't fault anybody for we got attention, but all we got was attention on a mattress. Not one single one talked about sleep. The word sleep was never even mentioned. No one showed us or demonstrated an adjustable base. No one pillow fitted us. No one talked. And we gave them everything they needed. We talked about back pain. We talked about sleeping hot. Handed it to them on a silver platter, right?
Gave them the
And
keys
didn't
to the
get,
kingdom.
yes, and didn't get any conversation. And so I'm like, this was not the learning experience that I intended here.
But it was a different one,
it
right?
was a different one. But that I want to change our industry. It is this become, and I know you know this, and we speak this religiously in the Mattress Industry Network and at our network events. I mean, we all feel this way, but we're up against the internet and Amazon and big corporate people who maybe mean well in their sales training, but when it trickles down to the RSA in a small town, it doesn't, that RSA still has their device and all right, well, I'm fitting you with, oh, okay, here you go. This is the one you need. And magically it's the most expensive mattress on the floor. So I want to change the industry. I want to change the conversation to be about self-care and about, the value of sleep. All of our managers are certified sleep science coaches. They have to be, that's part of the required, but I want us talking the language and actually helping people live a better life. And I just don't see that happening across the board. I know a lot of us as individuals are changing that conversation. Jeff Janakovo and a lot of us in the group I know are doing a good job of that in our little areas. I want it to be high tides raise all boats. I want it to be that way in the industry.
Yeah.
I want to change people's minds where they don't want to go shop online because they don't get that experience. And I'm the first that'll hop on Amazon and order everything I can, because of the convenience. I'm not saying don't support Amazon. It's this. I'm just saying to sleep better, we need to create a different experience, a different conversation.
100%, 100%. And I've seen this in everything you say and do since I first noticed you. So thank you. I love the fact that you put your finger on something that's, a lot of people try to avoid. You put your finger squarely on complacency. And there's a book that everybody here, anybody who's in management and anybody who owns a store, you should get this book. It's called They Call Me Coach. And it's the John Wooden story.
Writing it down.
And John Wooden was the winningest. Hey, Anthony, suit up and show up. Amen, brother.
That's
Amen.
right.
He had a quote, and it was regarding complacency. Remember this your whole lifetime through. Tomorrow there'll be more to do, and failure waits for all those who stay with some success made yesterday. You must try once more and even harder than before. That's
like that.
That is a quote that I just gave you off the top of my head because I probably read it a few thousand times. And I was never lazy, but I never wanted to be lazy. I never wanted to be complacent. I never wanted to be guilty. Royal Bateman, what you got? Where do you find your RSAs? That is a great question, my friend. Where do you find your RSAs?
It is. And funny enough, when Joe and I first launched, years ago, we had this whole conversation that we were not going to hire friends and family because we didn't want to risk those relationships.
Got it.
As it turns out, our friends and family and connections and friends of friends and friends of family have been our best our best employees and most loyal. So we have turned a complete about face on that. That now it's like, if you see us post an ad, something on LinkedIn or on Indeed or whatever, Kelly's desperate because we, I'm looking internally first, not just for people to promote, but say, hey, do you have any friends? Do you have anybody you would vouch for that might be interested? And those have been the best. We've got a new hire now, Bill. Shout out to Bill, who's a friend of one of our managers, Luke. And we had not even posted a position. I hadn't really even fully announced internally that we needed the position. But Luke comes forward because he's been with us like 8 years, 9 years or something. And he's like, hey, he can kind of feel that we're about to need a position filled. Not because of getting rid of anybody, just because of expanding and needing the operation. He said, by the way, I got a buddy Luke. I got a buddy Bill. If you want to talk to him, I think he'd be a good addition to the BMO family. And within a week or two, I called him, and Bill's been a great addition. But that's just, if I'm being honest, that's how our best associates have come to us, have been through people that we know just in our own little network.
That reminds me of Jacob and Seth at Happy Z's in Paducah, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob is an absolute amazing human being, great RSA, and becoming more and more every day. And he's just special. And they were starting to talk that they needed somebody. He goes, I have a friend, Seth, and he would be perfect for our store. And so now they have this thing in Paducah at Happy Z's, Scott Vaughn's store, and Scott and Wanda.
Another great team there.
Yeah, they've got a great team. They got a great culture. And now they have this thing, and this is for you, Royal, where, they have to interview with Scott, but then they have to interview with the rest of the team because they're not bringing anybody on board that breaks that culture.
So you hit the nail on the head. Culture, I would argue, is the most important thing to build internally.
Yeah.
Because if someone fits the culture, we don't hire experience, we hire potential, we hire culture. Yeah. If you're a good human being and you've got just a decently level head on your shoulders, we can teach you the job. Yep. If you're a good human being, you can sell, you can relate to people, because that's how we sell in our stores. We don't use the traditional, strong arm sales techniques. We just build a relationship, just talk to people, solve their problems. It's genuine and it's real. And people like that. That's who they want to do business with. And so that's what we hire. But if we build the right culture internally, then that translates to the customer. Mm-hmm. When we care about one another, we're like a family in here. And the way we treat one another, that becomes what people join when they come to work that day. And they can't help but it to translate through when a customer walks in. So we absolutely, we hire culture and build culture.
That's great. And I got to share this with you. I'm blessed in that I get to go into a lot of stores, and a lot of stores, you'd be surprised. I'm kind of like the Terminator when I go to a store. Like, I am looking at the parking lot, I'm looking at the immediate entrance, I'm looking at the sign, I'm looking at the colors. Are they today's colors? Is it easy to read? Blah blah blah. And I'm looking at the brands, I'm scanning them, just like in the movie The Terminator. But then I take my Terminator hat off and I put my heart, and I just feel.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how many times I feel bad things in stores. It's just like, I am going to do everything I can to get out of there as fast as I can. I know my lines don't like this, but the reason you guys have so many great customers with me and not your other sales reps is because I go by my heart. I go by my feeling. Stores have a feeling in them, and stores that have a culture of winning for the customer not winning to line their pockets,
Yes.
winning
Yes.
for the customer, to help the customer get a
Yes.
better night's sleep.
We
Those are the champions that we need more of if we're ever going to change the perception of our industry around. And this
mhm.
whole bed in the box thing, it only started because we did such a horrible job as an industry. And I'm
People
not,
didn't wanna come in and shop with us anymore.
well, they
It's
didn't.
not
We did it.
enjoyable.
We
They
did a
dread
bad
it.
job. We were selling mattresses instead of helping them get a good night's sleep, and
Yes, yes.
helping them wake up happy and healthy as they possibly can be. And
So
um,
we tell
go
our
ahead.
guys, in part of our initial the premise of our sales process is you forget numbers when the customer walks in the store. Do not be thinking about your commission, your sales goals. Numbers go out the door, and now you're a human and you take care of the person that's in front of you. Some
Amen.
people need a $200 twin for the top bunk of a bunk bed. Cool. But you take care of them like a person and you build a relationship so that when the next time they need something bigger, now they're like, okay, that wasn't so bad when we went to that one store and they took care of us and it did, it felt pretty good in there. So let's go try them. Right. And if the phone rings and in fact, our Monday morning call, company wide call, every Monday morning, by the way, we've just implemented this recently, 9:30, because our stores open at 10, every employee, everybody, top to bottom, is on this call, Zoom call, and we limit it to 20 minutes. That's it. 20 minutes sharp. At 20 minutes, we hang it up. The call ends. But it's a way for us to get with the team, everybody on the team, on an even playing field, and just talk for 20 minutes about what we need for the week, any focuses, anything, whatever's going on. But just this morning, we had the reminder of, told the guys, I said, look, if the phone rings and somebody says, how much is a queen box spring? You give them the price. That customer is just going down the list. They don't even remember who they just called. They're just going down and who in the lowest price is where they're going to go that day. And, y'all know we don't make a lot of money if somebody just buys a box spring. They bought their mattress online. They're coming to us for a box spring. They're just trying to find the cheapest one. But if you will, when you hang up, follow that now with a text and say, thanks for the call. Appreciate that you reached out to us. As mentioned, here's how much our queen foundations are. Happy to set one aside for you if you need. I can even text you an invoice and bring it out to you this afternoon. I mean, just anything at all that sets a personal relationship standard. They aren't getting that at the other stores they're calling. And now, next time they need something else, maybe you'll stand out. But it's these little things that all just involve building the relationship. Every single time you interact with someone, forget the numbers and deal with the person. Because the numbers will come is the thing. Because if you truly are taking care of the person and you've had the conversation about their back pain and sleeping hot, maybe they need a split king adjustable that has some significant cooling features, and they need the whole sleep system, including the sheets that are going to be breathable. They need the right protector, of course, and they need to be pillow fitted. Those things are going to happen if you're taking care of them. I mean, rarely do they actually just need a mattress.
Yep, 100%. Joe Clay, what you got, Joe? I would love to see the secret shopper checklist you guys use. I believe I would learn a lot more from competitive, yes,
Comp
from
shopping.
comp shopping.
I'll tell you what we do. I try to keep it simple. That way the guys don't have to remember a list of things that they're having to go back and then check off. And this applies certainly in shopping a competitor, but it also applies if you're door dashing or you go to McDonald's drive-through or you're at Walmart. It just doesn't matter. This can apply anywhere. Anytime you have an interaction, how did it make you feel? Make you feel good where you wanted to give this business your support? Did it make you feel bad where you're like, I'm not ever coming in here again? Or did you just not care? And then the follow-up to that is with each one of those, why? Because a lot of times we think we're taking care of people, but maybe we're very average about it. I'll be honest and say our phone calls are recorded. If you call the store, it gets recorded. And it said, at the beginning when you first answer, it'll say this call may be recorded. Well, where they say call can be recorded for quality assurance, I have the guys go back and listen to their own phone calls because they will
that
be their own
is
word. We
huge.
all hate hearing ourselves on tape and on video and on all recordings. We hate that about ourselves. They will be harder on themselves than I can ever be if they will go and listen to themselves. So I apply that same thing. Just, when you go in a competitor's store, what, the industry. So you're going to automatically make judgments about how it's merchandised and, whether the price tags are easy to read and whether it's clean and all that. You don't need a checklist to tell you to look for those things. What I want you looking for is, how did you feel? Did you want to support that business or not? Or did you just not care? Because anything other than, we want to be that place where people come in, they want to be there. They were pleasantly surprised with how easy it is. So how do we make that happen?
So Kelly just dropped a bomb on the entire industry, and everybody needs to really listen up. I don't care if you're the only employee. You need to do exactly what she just said. Have the announcement that you legally have to have on your machine when it picks up that this could be recorded, and then listen to every conversation that you have until you are so overjoyed with how great you are that you stop doing it. Chances are you're never going to stop listening, because you're always going to be improving. You're going to see your own improvement, and you're going to be thanking Kelly Charles for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of extra profit every month. But more importantly, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers who get help from somebody who truly cares enough to self-critique themselves. So whether you work for a big store and you're one of 20, or you are just a single store owner, record your and listen to the recordings. It's hard. We
Invaluable.
all hate our voice. We all hate our voice.
That's why
Everybody,
you gotta
I hate
listen.
my voice.
That's
We
why
all
you
do.
gotta listen, is because you are going to be
Have
your own worst critic.
Yeah, you have to. And you know what? You're getting somewhere when you're going, hey, that's better than it was the week before. I'm making progress. That's what life's all about, folks. Making progress, personal or professional. So that is just incredibly huge. Everybody write that down. If you write nothing else down, write that down. But Kelly, we're approaching that. Our time together is going to end in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Was there a question that I should have asked you that I didn't? And I actually have one. So I'm going to let you go first, and then I'm going to ask the question that
Okay.
I've had the whole time. But if you have one, you go first.
No, you go ahead, because I do
All
have
right.
one in mind, and I
So
can do it at the
So
end.
listen, you started off with one store, and then you had a second, and then the third store kind of came to you, and then you started the franchising thing. And so here's my question to you. I can see right now that your experience, Kelly, and you and Joe's approach to excellence could save somebody a lot of mistakes getting into the mattress business. Why did you guys decide to start to franchise your concept and your operation?
Pete, great minds think alike. That was the one thing that I would like for you to have asked, and so now you've asked it. So let me answer.
ESP.
It's exactly right. We did not plan this. We didn't rehearse it, just like Pete said.
No,
We
no.
didn't just
I don't.
organic conversation. But I'll tell you why, because the why, I think, is more important than the how. You always need to know your why. Jason Friedman is my mentor in a lot of things, and he always, why first, then how, and all the other questions. So the why goes back to, we really and truly want to change the industry. We've been in this industry long enough now. We are so passionate about it. I can't imagine doing anything else except being in the sleep industry. But because I'm so passionate about it, I'm passionate about actually changing it, actually being a change. And that happens a lot faster when we have more stores. Now, franchising was the fastest path to having more stores. But having said that, we are not just trying to sell as many franchises as people show up with a checkbook. That's not what we're trying to do. We want to grow very intentionally. We want to partner with only the right culture, because for any of this to mean anything, our why, we got to partner with people that can be a part of that, right? They got to support the statement. They got to help us change. I mean, last thing we want is to partner with somebody who turns into, now they've got the Big Mattress Outlet brand on their store and support and access to everything that they abuse and don't promote the culture. So that honestly, it was the fastest path to actually being a change in the industry and our name meaning something. This thing that we've built, that we've poured our heart and soul into, for me for 25 years, Joe for the last 12 years. Our employees are loyal. All of them have been with us for years, except, when I say all, like, we don't lose people, we just grow and we add more. But Brady, our Rome store manager, been going on 10 years. Luke, I mentioned earlier, our people don't leave because of the culture we build. They want to be here. And I want our franchisees to feel that same way. I want them to join something so that 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, they are so glad that is the best decision they've ever made. Yeah, it's scary, because making big decisions in business is scary. That the thing that Chris popped up earlier, it's not courage if you're not afraid. A lot of people want to take a leap of faith and open a business or open a franchise or do something on their own. But fear is a real thing. What if it's not the right time? What if I do this and I decide that, there was a better option, or I didn't ask the right questions? What if I just fail? I mean, any number of things that will hold people back. First of all, we want to be there to hold their hand. And I can't hold the hand of 100 people right off the bat. So we will grow organically and at a pace that we can hold people's hands and be there with them, not just give them, 2 or 3 weeks of training and then set them loose and be like, all right, well, I hope you're successful now. Here's the book. We want to grow this so that no matter where there's a Big Mattress Outlet store, it's associated with a feeling and a culture that our customers love, certainly, but that our vendors want to work with, that our suppliers, our reps want to do business with us. So the franchise was the fastest way to do that. And I know the rewards that we have gotten from business ownership, and I want to give that to others, honestly. And we want to try to do it in if we can, a cost-effective way. We feel like it's a low entry cost compared to a lot of franchises out there. And that's by design. I'm not trying to get rich quick and retire to the islands anytime soon. We just want to fund this expansion in a realistic way and have other entrepreneurs. We'd like for them to open 2 and 3 stores and then realize, oh my goodness, I need 10. I want to be, I want to be a mattress, my brain's slipping, my Mattress Mafia family, join our Mattress Mafia family. I want to have a whole bunch of stores. But anyway, I get passionate and I go off kind of on a squirrel moment, but that's my why. That's why the franchise versus just opening more corporate stores. And I'll tell you, part of Harry Roberts is a really dear friend, and we had already launched franchising when I heard him say this, that just solidified. I think it put into words what I was already thinking. And what he said was, on the stage of Sleep Summit, he said, thinking back to the Mattress Firm expansion, that we're going to create entrepreneurs. Instead of hiring managers, we're going to create entrepreneurs. And that resounded with me. I was like, that's right. Because that feeling of being an entrepreneur, being in the driver's seat, winning races. So go to the racetrack, back to our racetrack analogy, right? That I love so much. And I'm just going to ride this one out because I think there's no better fitting analogy. And it comes from Joe, because Joe has this long, extensive racing background. So thank you, Joe. I think he's listening. But
he better be.
Yeah, it better be. But going back to that great driver, that's the franchisee driving the car. Now we got to set the car up. We got to provide the car. We got to provide the program. We've got to have the support team and all that. But in the winner's circle, who's on top of the car with a bottle of champagne shaking it, and who gets the interviews at the end? Who gets all the credit for the success? It's the driver. That franchisee, when they're successful, they get the credit. They are the ones that have to go out there and actually execute. And I want nothing more than that. We have our success. We have our successful stores, and I'm proud of that. I want to give that to somebody else. Give them the support they need so that they can go out and win their race. And now they can get up there and shout from the rooftops with a shaken bottle of champagne about how successful they are. That's my why. That gets me excited.
That's awesome. So there's somebody that's watching this show either right now or on the replay, and they're going to be like, oh my Lord, I want to talk to Kelly. And how do they get a hold of you, Kelly?
I am very accessible. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. They can email me, KELLY at bigmattressoutlet.com is my direct email. Happy, via private message or anything, share my phone number and text with people. Our stores, our stores are all listed there on our website. So you can just pick a store and call them and say, hey, have Kelly call me. I try to be very, very accessible, easy to find, send me a message. I'm a firm believer in high tides raise all boats. If you just want to pick my brain, I'm happy to share. Absolutely happy.
Well, that was quite obvious that you're more than willing to share. And thank you for the golden nuggets that you laid at many store owners' feet this morning. I'll tell you, it's so good. So good. Now on your Nothing Else Mattress podcast, how do people find that?
Again, there's a Facebook page, Nothing Else Mattress, nothingelsemattress.com. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We have a LinkedIn profile. So the podcast episodes are always posted there. We're relatively new. We're not at 195 episodes like you are. We're relatively new, but I'm really proud of the episodes we've had so far. We've had some super successful multi-million-dollar business, multi 6 and 8 figure business owners on there. And then we've had some people that are earlier in their journey. But the part of our podcast, the point of it is the origin stories, because sometimes people who want to own a business look at successful people and they're like, I don't know that I could ever get there. Like that's really cool and all. But when they just hear that the common thread, it seems like between all of us, the stories are the same. It started from a place, there was always this point where they were like, okay, I have to do something. They took a leap of faith. There were nerves, there was fear, there were all these things they had to push through. And then through that, they talked through their success. But when you write that outline for everybody who's on the show, it looks almost the same. And I think that's super cool. That I want that to inspire someone who's wanting to take a leap of faith, who wants to open a business, whether that's, owning a franchise, if that's the right thing for you, or some other idea that you've got, that these highly successful people are just like you. They have the same feelings, same emotions, the same struggles, same fights to be successful. And so anyway, that's the point of the show, is just interviews with people at all different points of their career. Got somebody coming up in a couple of weeks that has, it's going to be one of our after hours where he's a bourbon expert. So this is not just mattress industry. In fact, if you look at the podcast, most of them have not been mattress people, but yeah.
I started to look outside the industry after my first 10 years. Probably should have started it after my first 5 years for inspiration, because I think that as an industry, one of our biggest mistakes have always been looking internally instead of looking out there and seeing what else works, what else is successful in other industries, what aren't we doing? What could we do?
There's a lot to learn from people.
There's so much to learn. And what's really cool, what I love, my mastermind I'm going to this week, at the end of the week, is across all industries. And I'm just looking for one thing that we're not doing as an industry that someone is doing and having success with, and like get my dealers to implement that first so they can help themselves win. One of the things that really hit really hard, you kept coming back to it, was this idea: if somebody's a good human being, a good person, you can teach them how to be successful in our
Mm-hmm.
industry. And Anthony Amato, who owned a couple different sleep shops, started off with one, ended up with over 20, and isn't even in the industry anymore. But he said, Pete, if you just give me a good human being with good manners and a good work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
who was raised right, I can teach them how to be successful in our business. But
Mm-hmm.
if they haven't learned good manners, if they haven't learned a good work ethic, if they're not good people, there's nothing I can do with them, Pete. I can't fix all that stuff
Yeah.
that mom and dad should have fixed many years ago.
And I want to say real quick, I know we're running out of time, but I'll shout
Yeah.
out to our first franchisee because we have one open in July. And this is Alicia, is our franchise owner in Hickson, Tennessee.
Hey, Alicia.
So
Congratulations.
Alicia opened our 4th of July weekend was our grand opening weekend there. So we'll see July, August, September, October. So we're a little over 3 months in. She's already hanging with the corporate stores.
Wow.
But it's because of her drive, her grit, her determination, because she went into this. She wasn't worried about the hard work. She's got the hard work, but man, what she loves and what she excels at is taking care of people. So when people come in, she almost hugs them. They become her friends.
Yeah.
She wants to know their story. So her follow-ups with them is genuine. It's not a sales pitch because it's truly coming from her heart, and that is what's making her successful.
Amen. Kelly, it's been a real treat getting to know you the last
Likewise.
hour. And I love your heart for our industry, and I love your vision for our industry. So let's keep working together to make that a reality. Everybody go forth, do what Kelly says, and let's sell 1 million.